This Epstein situation is just getting crazy. The stories continue to change. Just a couple of days ago, Mike Johnson said that Donald Trump was a federal agent for the Epstein case. Now he's trying to backtrack that. And now it appears that the letter that Donald Trump supposedly gave to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday has now been given to Congress. And based on what I've seen, that definitely looks like Donald Trump's signature. Let's get started with all this craziness that happened a couple days ago so we can just kind of go through the timeline here. For whatever insane, crazy reason, a Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, took it upon himself to say this to the media that Donald Trump was a federal agent. Listen to this.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about.
What did he say?
It is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president.
What? What is happening? This is crazy. This is crazy. So he says it's a hoax. Like they go back and forth between this is a hoax, is it not a hoax thing. I guess Virginia Giuffre story is just made up, even though it was very detailed. Even though Donald Trump confirmed that he knew her, that she worked at Mar-a-Lago, but we're supposed to believe all this is just lies now. It's just a hoax. Then he goes on to say that Donald Trump was a federal agent or informant or whatever. And then now he's trying to backtrack this. Let me let him finish here, and then I'll get to the new thing that he said today.
He knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. And he's not saying.
He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. Like none of these people can be trusted. Again, like I said, they're always going to look out for power and protect power. Thomas Massie is confirming that in a recent news segment. You're going to see that as well. And now, after saying that, and that clip went viral, now Mike Johnson is trying to backtrack and say, no, he's not a federal agent. What the hell is going on here? So here they are confronting him again.
What do you mean by that?
What I was referring to in that long conversation was what the victim's attorney said. More than a decade ago, President Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, and he was one of the only prominent people, as everyone has reported, not President Trump, but everybody about him, that he was willing to help law enforcement go after this guy who's a disgusting child abuser, sex trafficker, all the allegations. That's what they heard. So the president was helpful in that. I don't know if I use the right terminology, but that's common knowledge and everybody knows that. So
there's a big difference between saying that he was willing to help law enforcement try to find him, which, let's be honest, I mean, he knew where Jeffrey Epstein was. I don't even know why people are falling for this bullshit. But there's a difference between saying that and saying that he was an informant or he was an agent. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God.
This is much ado about nothing.
Did the president tell you this specifically about his involvement?
I was recounting what others have said. The president and I have talked about the Epstein evils many times. He's as disgusted by it as everybody else. He has long had a history of acknowledging that, and he has said repeatedly he wants everything to come out, all credible information, everything for the American public to decide.
Was he ever asked to wear a wire or anything like that?
I have no idea. No, I'm not saying that. I have no information about that whatsoever. I was repeating what has been common knowledge for a long time. The president was helpful in trying to get Epstein, for the law enforcement to go after Epstein. That's always been my understanding. That's common knowledge. It's the public's understanding.
That was not what you said. This is insane. Oh my God.
I was not breaking news there, okay? What I'm trying to emphasize is that the president is as disgusted about this as everyone is, all people of good conscience. We heard from the victims last week. It was gut-wrenching to hear their accounts. Many of them came out here and did it to a broader audience, to the public. But there's as many as 1,000 other victims, hundreds of young women, now some of them middle-aged women, who were subjected to these abuses for a long, long time, and justice is long overdue. So we're not just investigating Epstein and what happened, but why the justice system failed these women for so long. That is why the House Oversight Committee is on this so aggressively. And as you saw, the latest developments, I think Chairman Comer and some other members are going down to Florida. They're going down to the Epstein estate to look at visitor law with the estate. By the way, none of this is encompassed in the discharge petition gambit. This is what the Oversight Committee is tasked to do. That is what they are doing in a bipartisan fashion. You have very aggressive members on both sides of the aisle that are on it, and we are greatly comforted by that. So we fully support it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump probably had some words to say to Mike Johnson after that video went viral, but that's just the beginning. Because now, remember that birthday card that Donald Trump, or that birthday letter that he sent to Jeffrey Epstein? The Wall Street Journal published that story, but they didn't actually show the letter. And people were like, if this is true, where's the letter? Well, now the letter has managed to appear, allegedly. I say allegedly because y'all ain't coming after me. You ain't sending me to court. Listen to this one. The Wall Street Journal says lawyers for Jeffrey Epstein's estate have given Congress a copy of the birthday book put together for the financier's 50th birthday, which includes a letter with Donald Trump's signature that he has said does not exist. On Monday, the House Oversight Committee members confirmed that they received a copy of the birthday book, including the letter bearing Donald Trump's signature. And that definitely looks like Donald Trump's signature. This isn't the first time we have seen it, right? So that looks like his signature, but Donald Trump said it does not exist. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's go ahead and get into this story. Oh, boy.
Breaking news out of Washington. The House Oversight Committee just received files from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. A Democratic spokesperson says committee Democrats are reviewing hundreds of documents handed over to the committee, and they have just released that body drawing allegedly drawn by President Trump for Epstein's 50th birthday. Here it is. The Wall Street Journal was first to report on it a few months ago, and today we're getting a first look at it. Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic and MSNBC political contributor Mark Leibovich.
Now, one of the things that I will say is when they published that article, they should have had the letter in that article, and they did not. So that obviously gave room for Donald Trump to say it's not real, it's fake, it's a hoax, etc. So now it's like people who are already skeptical are like, oh, so now you can produce it, but you couldn't produce it then. So that was a failure on the Wall Street Journal. Like when they first broke that story, they should have already had that letter produced in that article. So people who are diehard Trump supporters and were skeptical anyway are not even going to believe it now. But that definitely looks like Donald Trump's signature.
Bulwark senior reporter Will Sommer, host of the Bulwark podcast, and an MSNBC political analyst, Tim Miller. Mark, I know you are thrilled and honored to be on the show today to get a first glimpse of this.
It's happening in real time. First of all, I'm always thrilled and honored to be on the show, Katie. We've had the wording on this before. We've sort of had a general sort of contours of what this is before. This is actually sort of the physical. This is actually it. We are seeing this. It's unclear whether the needle will move any more than it already has. But obviously, look, Donald Trump has said that this doesn't exist. This, what I can tell, looks like it exists. So start with that. We'll see, if this propels the story any faster, any greater time than it will. Although I suspect that there will be other things that we didn't know before that are going to be coming out in the next few days.
Will, what about you? What do you think?
Let me add this here before Will says what he has to say. Because here's the thing about the media. Obviously, MSNBC is going to, go against Donald Trump on this issue, and Fox News is going to defend them on this issue. That's the problem that we have with corporate media. We don't have just regular straight news. like, I guess what my parents grew up with, like what my parents told me about when they were growing up. But the reality is that Donald Trump probably should have said, yeah, I signed, that book for his birthday. I was just joking around. Yeah, I drew an image of, a woman's body or whatever. It was just a little joke or whatever. Probably should have went ahead and claimed that. And now it just kind of looks like, why? Because even then, that still doesn't mean that you partook in those activities. That still doesn't mean that you abuse those girls. You know what I'm saying? But what's weird about this Epstein situation, as much as Trump says he had nothing to do with what happened on that island to those girls, and he didn't sleep with any underage girls on Jeffrey Epstein's island, the way that he has moved around this particular issue has made him look even more suspicious. That's the thing. So this is one of those things he probably should have just claimed. Let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the letter that has all the stuff about, secrets and ages not changing, things like that. I mean, so I think it's great to see it. The sort of instant reaction I'm seeing from right-wing media, they're really focusing a lot on the signature, saying, oh, Charlie Kirk, for example, is saying, that doesn't really look like Trump's signature. It looks just like Trump's signature. I mean, if you pull up what Trump's signature looks like, it looks pretty much exactly like that. I think this is going to keep the story going, the Epstein story that Trump has obviously tried to avoid. That and Mike Johnson claiming and now backing off the idea that Trump was some sort of FBI informant against Epstein. I think the story is sort of turning against the administration once again.
Yeah, I mean, I am pulling up Donald Trump's signature right now, and gosh, the D is exactly the same. I mean, I don't know. Listen, I'm not a handwriting.
Hold up. Let's see if Eric can find it. Eric, can you find Donald Trump's signature? Any pictures of Donald Trump's signature, like when Donald Trump holds up the executive orders that he signs, you see his signature then. So that's something to look at. Eric, if you can find it, let me know. And we can make a comparison.
Expert, but this was in the birthday book. The Wall Street Journal reports that he submitted it. Donald Trump denies it. It's just a weird thing, Tim, it's a weird hill to die on. I did not write that letter. I did not draw that picture. We all know they were friends. It's been documented that they were friends. Why are they so concerned about admitting that Donald Trump sent him an image like this? It's not like no one knows that Donald Trump himself is body.
Yeah, well, I think it's their instinct to lie, for starters. Was when they're presented with inconvenient information, it's easier for them to talk about the fake news and blame the fake news than actually engage on the merits. On this one in particular, it is true that it's not known that Donald Trump was body, but there is this mythos that Will could talk about for sure on the right, on some on the MAGA right and the QAnon right, that Trump was fighting against, the elite pedophile rings out there, and that he was, some warrior on the inside who was going to expose all these people. And now here he is, not only not exposing them all, but writing this note to Epstein here that is just extremely familiar, right? It's one thing. It is true that famous people sometimes sign birthday cards for people or sign generic notes for people. That is not what we're seeing here. I mean, we have this drawing of what appears to be a young woman, I would say, and Donald Trump talking about how they share certain things in common, about how they have all these wonderful secrets together. I mean, it's a letter from two guys that get in trouble together and have a bromance. That's what this is. It's not some generic letter. And so I think that's why they probably are more sensitive about it, because it's not as if it's just two famous people getting their picture together at another famous person's party.
Yeah,
it's more intimate.
We got that signature. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Let me come out of here. I think we got the comparison. Thank you so much, Corey. So let's take a look, folks, and see what we're dealing with here. I don't know why. Oh, hold on. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and take a look, because someone said in the chat the signature has changed a little bit throughout the years. Okay, there's one there, and then we'll just go back and forth between that one and the one from the Wall Street Journal. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Okay. And sorry to put this up here so bold like this. Here's the signature that's on the birthday card. And here's the signature. What is this from, Corey? Corey told me what this was from. Hold on. Make this bigger. There's the signature. Thank you, Corey. USA to executive order. There's the signature from Donald Trump's executive order. Him signing one of those. Okay. And then let's go back and look at the one from the birthday card. It doesn't look exactly the same. Like this one looks like it just says Donald. And this one looks like it's probably Donald Trump. It looks like maybe this is his full name. And the one with the birthday card or birthday book, whatever it was, looks like maybe that's just his first name. Interesting. Interesting. Let's go back in for a little bit more here. I don't think one more part here I wanted to show you, and then I'm going to show you what Thomas Massey just said.
You on that, but I don't think even if, would it be surprising that Donald Trump wrote something like this to one of his friends? No, even if that friend did turn out to be a creep, I'm not sure it would be surprising. I don't know if that inherently means that Donald Trump himself is also engaging in the same behavior. He was interacting with lots of people. I think making that jump is easier to do if the person is being cagey about it and strange and not admitting to just some obvious things. When you're not saying, yeah, I wrote this, I did do this picture. No, it's not me. Somebody else drew it. It's not my signature. When it looks exactly like your signature, that starts to raise more questions. But I want to linger on what Tim said a moment ago about the right canonizing Donald Trump as the figure who was going to expose all of this. Speaker Mike Johnson had this very weird moment on Friday where he suggested that Donald Trump,
that he was an informant. We saw that part. So either way, like I said, I don't know to tell you guys other than the fact that I do not think Donald Trump's hands are clean here. I've been very clear about that from day one. There was no reason for him to lie about that birthday book. And Fire brought up a really good point. You don't sign B-Day cards with a last name for friends. That's a good point. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but I do know this. They are trying to protect the wealthy. They're trying to protect billionaires. They're trying to protect donors. In fact, Thomas Massey just said that recently on ABC News.
Why do you think Congressman Massey, the president, is resisting the release?
I think it's going to be embarrassing to some of the billionaires, some of the donors who are politically connected to his campaign. I also think Democrats are going to be implicated in this, Democrat donors. And when you get to the billionaire level, a lot of these folks give to both parties anyway. There are probably intelligence ties to our CIA and maybe to other foreign intelligence, and the American people would be shocked, I think, to know that our intelligence agency was working with a pedophile who was running a sex trafficking ring. So these are the reasons I think that they're resisting this. But we can't avoid justice just to avoid embarrassments for some very powerful men.
Why do you think Congressman Massey, the president, is resisting the release?
Well, kudos to Thomas Massey for being very brave to say that on the news, on national television, because that's exactly what this is about. They're trying to protect billionaires. They're trying to protect donors, and of course, some intelligence as well. That's really what it comes down to. And I hope more people are waking up to that. But like I said, everybody plays the fool, right? Some people are really believing that the whole Epstein thing is just a hoax, even after they were so convinced about it when Biden was president. And now all it takes is for Donald Trump to enter the White House and tell you, no, it's not real. It's just a hoax or whatever. And people just fold just like that. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.